Hey YouTube, it's your girl Miss Keisha Nicole coming to you with a video. If you want to hear about how this term went, stay tuned. Listen to what I have to say about Peds, because it got ugly in Peds, y'all. So stay tuned. When I say that Peds was ugly, Peds got ugly for me. Like, real ugly. It was ugly, y'all. So, I know it's been forever. Y'all know how I do. At least I admit that I may or may not make no videos while I'm on break. I mean, while I'm in the middle of the term. Just because of how my life is. Like, trying to go to school and trying to work full time is a lot. And this particular term, I mean, it has caught up to me before in other terms, which is why I ended up going PRN before. And remember when I first started, I was working 3 jobs. So I've had moments where it caught up to me. But this term, it caught up. Y'all know that I'm working as a dialysis technician, and I'm going to make a video about that as well, just explaining like the day-to-day things of a tech. I'm not going to do that. That's not going to be a part of this video. I might make that video after this one, but we're going to talk about school. We're going to talk about how I did this term. We're going to talk about, did I fail or did I pass? We're going to talk about all of that. So let's get to it. So y'all, oh my God, Peds. Let me preface this. I love Peds, and I would not mind working in Peds. I definitely wouldn't mind working in the NICU. Like, the NICU is a calling for me. It has my heart. But Peds in general, like, I can work in it. Studying it was another, not even studying it. Being able to put it together and understand it and being able to test on it was a struggle for me. A struggle. Like, so this term I took Peds, I took Pharm 2, I took Developmental Psych. And Developmental Psych and Peds kind of rolled in together. Like, it was a lot to do with Erickson and Piaget, or Piaget, however you say that, in both of those classes. Because it was Developmental Psych. So we were starting from the early stages of development. We were starting from Erickson's trust and mistrust with developmental psych. Now, with that being said, I didn't have issues with developmental psych. Today, this week is week 11 of this term. So I am done with the term. It's week 11. I didn't have any problems with developmental psych. I've already taken on my final exams. I'm done. I'm on spring break. School does not start back for me for another 2 weeks. I don't go back to school to April the 5th. So, with that being said, developmental psych, I got an A in that class. We took tests every week, and we did the, because it was an online class, we did the group discussions weekly where you answered her question that, about whatever it was about developmental psych, and then you had to respond to 2 of your peers. For the most part, it was not hard, but as far as the classes go with group discussions, she probably graded us the hardest on group discussions. Usually with the group discussions, you can get all your points, and you, like at my school, it just seemed to be like some busy work. Like, you could kind of BS your way through it. With this particular professor, because she was a professor, and basically she had a higher degree. I believe she had her doctorate in psychology, so she was a professor. But with her, like, you had to write so many paragraphs, and you had to cite your source, and like, she did it the way that people that I know that go to other schools had to do it. So she was serious about it. So I think, like, our discussion posts were worth 45 points, and that was including your portion and then your response to your 2 peers. So it was worth 45 points. I didn't get 45 points every week. Some weeks I got 40 points. One week I got 35. So, but in the end, I still ended her class with the A. So I didn't have any issues with developmental psych. Pharmacology. Well, Pharm 2, no issues. I ended up ending Pharm 2 with the A. I could have actually not taken that exam and still would have ended that class with a B. Like, I could have got a 0 on my Form 2 exam and I still would have ended the class with a B. Now, I did take my Form 2 exam. I ended up getting like a 90%, which is a B. But I ended the class with a 93%, which is an A. So, Form 2, no issues. Pediatrics. Pediatrics wanted all the smoke when it came to me. So the last video when I talked to you guys, what was that, week 2, week 3? Like week 3, I had failed that test. So it was, yeah, it was week 3 because it was the second test. I had failed that test. And it got better and then it got worse and then it got better and then it got worse. So like I just was up and down with that class. You know, the first test that we took in that class, I barely passed. My second test, I failed by a lot. I got like a 68, 69. I can't even remember exactly what it was. We did a remediation. So it had to be like a 68. Because on my remediation, I was able to pull that up to like a 70. Which helped me. And then, right after I made that video, because I told you guys in that video, I talked about how my school rounds up. So right after I made that video is when things changed drastically for me and for my school. So I go to school in the state of Kentucky, but I live in the state of Ohio. If you know anything about Ohio and Kentucky, Cincinnati, Ohio borders northern Kentucky. So you just go over the river, and this is what we do. So my son just came out of his room. So the state of Kentucky decided that they were no longer, I'm sorry, y'all. We're cooking dinner. We have a roast in our Instant Pot, and it was making some noises. So it was like, I had to look a little bit. But so the state of Kentucky decided that they would no longer utilize ATI, UWorld, I guess UWorld. Like this was what was said in a letter. So they were no longer going to use ATI, UWorld, Kaplan, and HESI they couldn't use a test in that sort in whatever nursing class you were in as like a determining test that could pass or fail you. So it couldn't be worth a lot of points to pass or fail you. It was basically what the state of Kentucky was saying, because people were like passing the classes, passing everything, and then they would have to take their HESI or their ATI proctor and weren't getting the level that they needed, and it was making them have to stay back in that particular class, and they weren't able to move on with their cohort. So the state of Kentucky decided that if you had the grades to move on with your cohort, but the one thing that was holding you back was your HESI score or your ATI score, they were no longer allowed to do that. So my school was still having us take the ATI proctor, but it was no longer counted as such a high percentage of our grade. They actually made it, if you leveled on it, it will be for extra test points. So if you got level 3, and depending on what your test points was, so if you got level 3, you would get 3 percentage test points. So, or if you got level 2, you would get 2 percentage test points, and level 1 is 1 percentage test points. So let's say your overall test points was 1,000, and you got a level 2. You received 20 extra test points towards whatever your test was. So if you had 800 points out of 1,000, you were going to, you level 2, you would get 20 points, and it would go to your 800, so you would have 820 points. So this is what they decided to do. Thankfully, they did that because it helped me. But so yeah, we were no longer, like, it was no longer going to be a determining factor, which for me, it would have helped me even more to receive the original points that we got for that, and had it be a part of that, because I actually did better on the ATI than I was doing on our weekly test. So the last time I talked to you guys, I had failed that test. The following week, I got an 89 on the next test. Great. We got to that, I got a 78. We got to that, I got a 78. So I'm like striding this line. And then it hit the fan. The week after that, so I had got an 89, a 78, a 78, and then I got a 77. And my test average dropped, because remember my first test, I barely passed. I had like a 78, and I got a 70 after they added remediation points, and they took that away as well, since they were no longer utilizing ATI as like a determining factor. We were no longer getting remediation for tests. So I was not able to remediate and gain points back from them 78s. So original test, I got like a 78. Then I got a 70 because of remediation. And then we were done remediating. We weren't doing that anymore. And then I got an 89. And then I had a 78, a 78, no remediation. So at this point, I had like a 80 test average, somewhere around in there. It was like 80, 81. And I'm panicking. So I meet with, so for our Peds, we have two Peds instructors, lecture instructors, and they kind of work together. They both have access to our grades and everything. So I send them both an email and I'm like, I need to meet with you guys. I want to go over my test. I need to see like what am I doing wrong? Where am I going wrong? So I meet with one of our instructors, and like we go over the test and we talk, and I'm like, I'm having an issue because she was like, well, you're doing okay. Like, you're not doing bad. I'm like, I know, but I've never been at an 80 test average ever since being in this program. And it's worrying me because like we're in week 6, 5 or 6 at this point. I'm like, I only have so many weeks left. And if I'm not doing well and I'm not testing well, like this is putting me in a position to where I could fail. I've also never been in a position where I needed to pass my final exam, and this is where I was at. Like I was at a point where I had to get at least an 80 on my final exam to move on. And she kind of talked to me and she was like, I understand that you made an A in OB, and I understand that you had a high B in mental health, and I understand that you had an A in med search 2 and an A in Pharm 1, and you have an A right now in Pharm 1. But I got to tell you that you're not going to be great in everything. And I kind of needed to hear that. My friends were also telling me that, but I kind of needed to hear it. So I kind of like left there relaxed. And the next day I took our test and I failed the freaking test. So the next day when I took the next test, I got like a 76. And my grade dropped down to a 79. So at that point, not only am I on, I'm like on the line. So I'm like, oh, snap. Well, I didn't say snap. I said, what I said because I cuss. But I'm trying to get better at that. So I'm like, if I don't get an 80 on the next, we had 2 tests and a final at this point. So I'm like, if I don't get an 80 on the next 2 tests and pass my final, I'm not moving on with my cohort. I'm going to be stuck in Peds. So the next test, I got a 90 on. Oh, wait a minute. I'm all out of sequence. Not even the next test. So the next test we took after that, because we didn't even take a test the next week. The next test we took after that was our ATI proctored, which is not counted as like a full test grade. So on the ATI proctored, I got a level 2, which I think only one person in our cohort level 3'd on the Peds ATI proctor. So I got a level 2. So that gave me 20 points and I could breathe. So I went from a 79 to like an 81. And I was like, okay, I don't necessarily have to have an 80 on my next test, but I want an 80 on my next test. So my next test, I got a 90. So I'm like, okay, you good. Then the next test after that, I got a 90. So I had got 2 90s back to back after all those failures. And then the final. So I took my final yesterday. And I had did the math because I got those extra 20 points. And I only needed a 40% on my final to have at least a 78 in the class to move on. And I got a 70 on my final. And I ended my my test average with like a 82%. And then I ended the class with like a 89. So I passed Peds. But when I said like when they changed things and everything had hit the fan, so remember I said that they were rounding up. So I could have had a 77.5 as my quiz average. Well, once the state of Kentucky said that they couldn't utilize ATI in the way that they were utilizing ATI, my school decided to change it and they were no longer rounding up test grades. So if I had entered that class with like a 77.89, I was going to fail the class. Like, there was no way around it because they were no longer rounding up test grades because of this. So Peds got stressful. Like, week 7, if I had to make this video week 7, you guys, I would probably be on here crying because that's how stressed out I was. Like, I had went to my boss and was like, I might be taking a leave of absence. And he was like, yeah, you're not going to be able to take a leave of absence. And I was like, well, then I'll quit. Like, this was really in my plans. If they weren't going to let me take a leave of absence, I was going to quit. And I had already decided that I had talked to my mom and my sister, like, if I don't pass Peds, I'm quitting. Like, because I like working in dialysis. Do not get me wrong. I love it. But school is more important than that. Like, hear me clearly. School is more important than that. Working all those hours trying to make money is not where I'm at right now. That's not where I'm at. Like, I have 5 months and 19 days until I am Keisha Nicole. Y'all need to know my real name. Until I'm Keisha Nicole RN. So, you know, if I can't pass Peds, I don't need to be in here cannulating patients. I need to be studying to get to where I need to be for what I done came this far for. Like, there's nothing wrong with being a dialysis tech. I love what I do, but I ain't doing this to be no dialysis tech. I'm doing this to be a nurse. I'm a dialysis tech right now because I'm not a nurse. I don't want to be a dialysis tech forever. So I'll quit this job so that I can obtain my goal in life, which is to be a nurse. So I ended up passing Peds. I got an A in pharm, an A in developmental psych, and a B in Peds. But it was really ugly there for a minute. In nursing school, y'all know how these grading systems are. It's so crazy because at the point when I had a 79 and like a 79 as my test average in Peds, but my grade in Peds was like a 87, 88. So it was just like crazy because you like, I'm on the line of failing the class because of my test average, but my overall grade average is a B. So yeah, so I made it through though, you guys. Like, I'm moving on to my term 7, which technically is my term 8, but because, you know, I discussed it with y'all last video. And term 7. My term 7 starts April the 5th or the 4th. 5th, I think 5th is a Monday. I will be in critical care. I'm also taking statistics and sociology. And those are my last 2 gen eds. And that'll be 11 weeks of those 2 classes. Well, no. I have 11 weeks of sociology and 11 weeks of critical care. That's my nursing class. And then I only take a 5-week stats class. And then after that, so when I'm done with this, so from April to June the 20-something, those 11 weeks, when I get done in the summer, June 20-something, my next thing to do is Dimensions in Nursing, which is role transition and that class that they have you take with that. So I am 5 months and like 19 days from finishing this thing called nursing school. And I made it through Peds, and so can you. But it got a little iffy towards the end, but I made it through. Thank you for watching my video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And look for my next video, because my next video I'm going to talk about being a dialysis technician and like what all comes into play with that, and tell y'all about some things at work that I don't like. So stay tuned for that video, but please like, comment, and subscribe, and thank you for coming. Again, my name is Keisha Nicole, and I'm 5 months and some days from being a nurse. Hey YouTube, it's your girl Miss Keisha Nicole coming to you with a video. If you want to hear about how this term went, stay tuned. Listen to what I have to say about Peds, because it got ugly in Peds, y'all. So stay tuned.